Okay, hello everybody. My name is Mitch Weisberg. I'm here for your Monday dose of MindShifting Monday with Mitch. Today we're going to be talking about empathy. Specifically, we're going to be talking about finding your empathic power, because people think of empathy as uh, maybe there's too much empathy in society today. Like all the liberals are just so empathetic and sympathetic with everybody. They don't have the ability to uh, to stand up for themselves, or people think that gee, I need to understand this person so that I can manipulate them, which would be kind of a form of weapons grade empathy. But empathy is something a lot more complex than that, and that's what we're going to be going into. As I'm talking, it'd be great to have some comments from people on questions or comments about empathy. But I thought, let's start off a little bit about, like, so what is empathy? I, and I think empathy is all about connecting to and having compassion for another person. The opposite of empathy is really judgment or blame. And it's relatively easy to have empathy when everything's going well, right? You're feeling, oh, something's going well with me. Uh, I can support this other person. I can feel good about these other people. And it's a lot harder when start to go wrong, because when things start to go wrong, when we disagree with others, when we're not getting the results we want, we tend to get angry. We tend to argue. Uh, we tend to have a difficult time, and that results in this type of judgment. Like, we can blame ourselves, okay? And part of empathy is having empathy for ourselves, so we can blame ourselves. And, like, I do this all the time. I hit a bad shot when I'm playing tennis or platform tennis, and I say, you're such an idiot, or what a stupid thing, or I'll never get this game. Um, or I may start thinking of myself as a victim, like, oh, bad things always happen to me. I never get this right. And that's, again, the opposite of empathy. Empathy might be just like, oh, something, that was a bad shot. Let me go on to the next shot, and I can continue to get better. uh, when things go wrong, we can blame or we can judge others. Okay, we can say, that person just screwed up, and that's why everything is going wrong. Or that person is always so demanding, like it's their fault. Or we can judge the person like that person is wrong. Whereas empathy would be trying to understand what's going on with the person, and maybe then taking steps to make the whole situation better. And then we can judge or blame the circumstances, like, oh, something, I'm late because traffic is so bad. Or gee, so the internet wasn't so slow, I'd be able to, whatever the answer is. Or I'm just doing what everybody else is. I don't understand why people are criticizing me. Everybody else is doing it, so I'm just going along with the crowd. And so those are examples of blaming ourselves, or blaming or judging others, or blaming or judging circumstances. Um, but when I think of empathy, I think of it, and it's not just me. I mean, we think of empathy as having, as understanding others and feeling for others as two different parts of empathy. Let me just get a graphic here on the screen, and here it is. Okay. So in this graphic, you see that it's a 2 by 2 matrix, and on the vertical axis is what I would call cognitive empathy. Cognitive empathy is what we know, and on the horizontal axis is emotional empathy. And emotional empathy is what we feel. So a person might have low cognitive empathy and low emotional empathy, and that would place them on the lower left hand quadrant. They might have high cognitive empathy, but still might have low emotional empathy, or they might have high cognitive empathy and high cognitive empathy. So let's go through each one of those four situations. And let's start with the lower left hand corner, that low cognitive empathy. low emotional empathy. So this is a person who doesn't really intellectually understand what other people go through and doesn't really feel for them. And in that case, very often a person with low cognitive and low emotional empathy will manifest themselves in inappropriate responses because they don't know what the circumstances call for. They don't know what the other person expects. They're very often dismissing others, um, or and saying that the other people, oh, they're just too sensitive about this. Um, they A person who has low cognitive and low emotional empathy will very often not realize how their actions affect others, and um, and because of that, they'll have these inappropriate responses. Um, Very often, a person with low cognitive empathy and low emotional empathy will appear detached or cold. And so when we're interacting with other people, uh, making that type of assessment, is this a person who's actually trying to harm me? Is this a person who's doing things to make me feel bad? Or is this a person who might have low cognitive and low emotional empathy, and maybe perhaps this is a teachable moment, perhaps this is just something I can just let go of. And Next, let's go up, still with, let's say, low emotional empathy, but somebody who really is good at understanding others from an intellectual standpoint, high cognitive, low emotional empathy. This is really what I would call very often your weapons grade empathy. Okay. This is a person who understands how others feel, but they don't feel it. And this person could use their understanding of how others feel for selfish or harmful ends. Okay. Um, they may, because they know that people want them to appear charming, they may appear charming or intuitive or socially skilled, making it harder to detect. But when they detect that they have an advantage, they're going to press their advantage. And you know these uh, these are the people who very often are very manipulative. Um, these might be your narcissists, okay, who are very judgmental. They have this high cognitive, low emotional, um, and so they themselves may not get triggered by situations, but they could be very good at triggering others about situations. They may know, oh, these people these people get scared in certain types of situations. And so let me manipulate the way I talk about a situation to make them scared, so they have to do what I say, what I tell them to do. Um, they can create a feeling of confidence that they are right, um, and that people should be listening to them because they know how to express things in a way to get the other people to feel the way they want them to feel. And we probably all can think of people who are manipulative. It's kind of interesting though. Instead of, again, just thinking of them as, oh, this person is out to harm me, it's like, okay, this person is high cognitive, low emotional empathy, so I have to be guarded with this person. And that would be my reaction. If I had to be around a person who had high cognitive empathy but low emotional empathy, and so was manipulative, I would be telling myself, this person, it's not necessarily that that they're mean or they're bad, although they could be. It's that this person doesn't feel what I feel, but will act as if they're feeling it. So I have to be very in touch with my own feelings, and in control of the way I'm acting in the situation. Um, and then there are people, let's say, with a low cognitive empathy, but are high emotional empathy. These would be people. you might call them the bleeding hearts. You know, when we talk about the bleeding heart empathy, these are people who very often have overwhelming feelings. They have a strong desire to do what they feel other people want or needs. You know, these are the people who really become manipulated by the people in that top left corner. Okay, these people who have very high emotional empathy and low cognitive empathy, uh, they're the people who go into empathy overload or empathy burnout. So, and I, if you find that this basically fits you, this is this is kind of a key for you to spend some time developing your ability to intellectually understand emotions also, so that you can move into that top right coordinate. And then the top right corner is where you have people who have a high cognitive, they intellectually understand what other people are doing, and high emotional, and they can feel it. These are people who have the ability to have deep connections with other people. They're very insightful about social navigation. They're very effective at supporting others. They're very effective at problem solving with other people. And uh, I guess the risk you run when you're hot, you know, you're good at connecting with people, and essentially you're good at collaborating with people, is that you might take too much time to problem solve when a quick solution allows you to move on to something that's more important. So if you find, or if you or believe that you're high in cognitive empathy, you're high in emotional empathy, that you're really good at connecting with people, that you're not particularly manipulated by others, so you're not in that lower right hand corner, uh, but you're in the top right hand corner, is to watch out for times where you spend too much time connecting and collaborating with other people, when just basically, if you told you know if you just told everybody what to do, everybody would be satisfied, they could move on, and they could devote their time to the things that they think are even more important. To develop yourself as one who is high in emotional and cognitive empathy, um, I guess for yourself, is to look for ways to respect and honor yourself even when things aren't working. Okay. And I look at how top athletes do that in terms of how they have high cognitive and emotional empathy about themselves. If you look at an elite athlete who, again, let's just take tennis, for example, who loses a point, you don't see them when they're really at the top berating themselves or getting angry about themselves for making a mistake on the court. It's like the point is over. Maybe there's something I can learn from it. Let me go on to the next point. How am I going to win this next point? And and they don't beat themselves up. So find ways to move on, find ways to give yourself some grace, and that's a way of developing higher cognitive and emotional empathy about yourself. Um, for others, it's about changing your anger or your judgment to something, to curiosity about, what might happen or what did happen in this situation. I think that if you're talking to another person and the person says something and you think this person is wrong, it could be discernment, but it's also very likely that this person is wrong is a judgment. A person with high cognitive and high emotional empathy might look at the person and say, okay, this person says something. My first inclination is that I think that this person is wrong, but I wonder what I might be missing here. What questions could I ask this person to draw them out and learn something from this conversation? What questions could I ask so that maybe we could come up with some solution that we can both support? And so that feeling of curiosity, possibly even playfulness. And the playfulness comes in if you can make a game out of interacting with them. Again, you're reacting with the person, this person says something that triggers your anger. You realize, right now I'm angry, but that's not going to move us forward. I wonder if I could stay playful or curious through 5 responses. What are 5 things I could say to this person where even if after each one they say something triggering to me, I'll just take it and move on to the next thing and see if you can last 5 times, or if you get 5 times, maybe see if you can last 10 times. So, uh, you know, those are the types of things that we can do to develop um, our empathic powers. There's a lot of information about this in the mind shifting book. Stop your brain from sabotaging your happiness and success. In terms of developing uh, emotional and cognitive empathy for others, the techniques that one could use. There's a lot of material in the mind shifting book, Mind Shifting Conflict and Collaboration. That's all about how do you turn situations that could result in destructive conflict and blame into situations where you can move forward, and hopefully everybody moves forward. So so those are the are really the points that I wanted to make. Is that uh, first of all, we think of empathy as just empathy, but no, there's the two types of empathy. That when we start thinking about other people in terms of their cognitive and emotional empathy, that takes us out of the blame mode and allows us to work with them. That when we look at ourselves and when we understand that we're angry at ourselves and we're blaming ourselves, having uh, the power to be able to then say, well, wait a minute, I'm not showing very much empathy for myself. Let me move on, or let me give myself some grace. We're increasing our empathy, and we're finding our empathic power. So if people have questions, you can put them into the chat. Otherwise, those are the topics that I really wanted to cover in this session. And I guess I'll see you next Monday on Mind Shifting with Mitch. Next Monday, let me just see what we're talking about next Monday. Um, Let me stop sharing my screen. And next Monday, we're going to be talking about learning to listen without an agenda, which is a key power to have if you want to be able to move forward with people to jointly solve problems rather than to get into destructive conflict. So, look forward to seeing you next week. And this is Mitch for Mind Shifting Monday with Mitch. Have a good rest of the week.